Hi you guys, my name is Derrick Rashid and welcome to my channel. So we are back for another episode of our favorite trash television show, and that is 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After ? We're in Moldova with Andre and Libby, and they're going to the airport to pick up Chuck and Charlie, who are Libby's father and brother. Obviously, Libby is excited to see her family, and Andre is not. They're going straight to Andre's parents' house because the airline lost their luggage. So I guess they're gonna come back for that or go to a store. I don't know. But on the way to Andre's parents' house, Chuck and Charlie start asking, I don't want to say dumb questions, but that's the first thing that comes to mind, such as, does Amazon deliver here? Is there a Walmart? Where's the fish market? Like, is all this really necessary? No, none of this is actually necessary. However, they want to know a little bit more about Andre, which I find really weird at this time, since I think at this point they've been married for like 2 years. So they start asking him about his past, and Andre's being very elusive about everything. They're asking him like, why did he end up in Ireland and all this stuff, and Andre's just like, oh well, I was a cop and then I moved. But the story that he told Libby was he moved for a job. If that's the case, sure, whatever. But it just seemed like he's very agitated about the fact that they're asking him about his past, which makes me believe that that's not all that there is to the story. So we get to the house. There's a beautiful spread on the table. Mom went all out with her cooking and everything. And the conversation starts very pleasant. Andre's dad decides that he wants to share the wine that his family's winery has created, and this is where things start getting spicy. They ask if Andre was really a cop, and his brother confirms that yes, he was, and he moved to Ireland. Again, during this conversation, Andre breezes over the reason why he went to Ireland, and then his brother asks, like, basically, like, he's getting the feeling that Andre doesn't want to work or anything like that, and true. But Chuck agrees, and then Andre jumps in and he's like, oh well, someone needs to be home with a baby, and this was like a conversation that Libby and I had. And then his sister-in-law jumps in and she's like to Chuck, she's like, can you guys help him get a job? And I don't know if TLC like doesn't play in Moldova, or like if Andre's not, well, he's obviously not going to tell his family the real story of what happened. But Libby's dad and Libby are like, yeah, like my father offered him a job and he didn't accept it, along with the other jobs that he didn't accept that he was offered because he simply didn't want to do them. Andre comes in and he's like, well, Libby wants me to stay home with the baby because I'm more trustworthy. And I'm like, Libby works for her father though, no? Like, if it was a one or the other kind of situation, I'm pretty sure that he'd be okay with his daughter taking off time to raise the baby while Andre goes to work. I don't know, like, I just feel like this was not the first time, and maybe this is just Andre really trying to like save himself because people are starting to look at him in a way that he doesn't appreciate. But he throws out this whole thing about, well, if you don't want to marry someone who's not working, then we shouldn't have a second wedding. And Libby's like, I'm fine without having a second wedding. In the States, they're already married. So let's fly over to Brazil, where Colt, Jess, and Debbie load up in the car. The gang is going to Jess's family for this barbecue. We meet, we exchange the 2-cheek kiss, and we do all of that fun stuff. We partake in the chicken hearts because Debbie now has adopted the win in Rome mentality. So yay for that. Everyone like starts to sit down to eat, and Jess like announces it to all of her family that Colt's ex was also a Brazilian woman. And we sit down and we're getting everything started, and Jess's dad starts asking pretty tame questions. He's like, how long have you been married? And how long after that relationship were you seeing my daughter? And the answer to both of those questions is 6 months. Is she a rebound for you, or is this real? And Colt answers him and says he's in love with his daughter and he wants to have a family with her. After Jess's dad gives his blessing, Debbie's like, I'm not here for this. Like, does anyone else think that they're moving a little too fast? And Jess is like, nope, we're not having any of this. And she like blurts out that Debbie also washes Colt's clothes. She cooks for him and everything. And it just starts escalating from there. Like, those two go back and forth and they're talking over each other. Jess puts her hand up across Colt, and that's apparently in Debbie's face. So Debbie throws her famous line, she's done. And Colt's like, all right, let's put you in the car and take you back to the hotel. And she's like, you're not coming? And he's like, no, like, you'll be okay. So he puts her in the car, gives his mother a 2-cheek kiss, and sends her on her merry way. He continues the night with just his family. And then the next morning, this man wakes up with his jacket still on and his hair completely disheveled. I'm wondering if he brushed his teeth, because he obviously didn't look in the mirror. And who sleeps in a jacket? I don't know, whatever. He goes to his mother's room and they have their breakfast and they start talking, and Debbie lets him know like the concerns that she has, and like he needs to just pay more attention to what Jess says and how she acts, and is very reminiscent of Larissa. After the conversation with Debbie, Colt and Jess meet up at the beach, where Colt strips down to his Speedo? I guess that's what we're gonna call it. So they take a stroll down the beach, and the conversation's very like reminiscent on the previous night's activities and like where they see themselves in the future. But basically this is what it comes down to. They want to be together. They will both have their parents be the deciding factor on if they are going to be together. So we head over to Nigeria with Angela and Michael, who are on their way to the market to get something for dinner. Michael has invited his mother to come over to the apartment that they have, and they're gonna have food and everything. But Angela's like, you're cooking. I'm American. I don't know how to cook Nigerian food. I'm American. Blah, blah, blah. I'm American, as if any of this has anything to do with anything. They pull up to the market. Michael doesn't know what's necessary. The lady, what's this lady's name? Angela. So they go and they get some rice, and Angela's like, no, I don't want my rice off the top. Like, is there bagged rice or anything? And the answer is no. I can put your rice inside of a bag. They don't know what oil they need. They don't know anything. So they head over, and Michael's like, let's get some goat. Cool. This is an outside market. It's Nigeria, so it is what most people, I think, would expect. Angela, not so much. She sees a goat head and she's running away. She's coughing. Now all of a sudden she has malaria. She's gagging. She's dry heaving. Like, it's completely unnecessary. It's completely embarrassing. I felt so bad for Michael. The whole thing reeks of like American privilege. As Angela stated, they're home. Michael is indeed cooking, and someone knocks on the door. Angela's like, no, we need to your mom needs to see you cooking. I'm gonna go get the door. You stay in the kitchen. This is the woman's job to go get the door. When someone comes, the man shouldn't greet anyone. And I'm like, hold on, time out. Where are you getting these gender roles from? What book is this? Do I need to go to the library? Because if we're speaking of gender roles, traditionally speaking, especially Nigerian, Angela would be cooking, no? Mom doesn't want anything. I'm gonna need something with some gravy, a stew, maybe some goat. You know, the things that they probably should have got while they were at the market, like the ingredients to make these things. Angela takes his time. Mom doesn't want the food. All right, she previously ordered a pizza, which she said she was gonna do in the car, and her backup plan comes in clutch. She's like, Mama, look, I got a pizza. Try it with me. It's American. Yes, pizza's American, according to Angela. But mom likes the pizza and Angela takes this as a win. She even shows her how to fold it. Like, honestly, it's probably the cutest thing that's ever happened between this entire couple's journey. Probably. We're back in the States in Vegas with Larissa. Larissa basically decides that she would rather like continue to rebuild this toxic relationship with what's this boy name? Eric. She'd rather rebuild this relationship with Eric rather than staying with Carmen. She calls Eric and Eric's basically like, well, I mean, I guess you can stay here if you really have to be here. Sometime after all this happened, Larissa went through Eric's phone and saw these old text messages from this lady, with this lady after their first breakup. And she calls her. This girl has no issue calling anyone. She's like, hey, do you know my boyfriend Eric? This is Larissa. And the lady's like, girl, he is not good. He's like trash. Like, you need to leave him alone. Like, he said all this stuff about you. And she starts going off about the stuff that he said, like about like her cleanliness, her attitude, her personality, intimacy. Colt and Eric hung out together and they exchanged notes about their intimate details with her. He talks about her to this lady. He talks about her to his mother and father. So she's like, basically, like, he doesn't like you. And we get let on this huge cliffhanger because the episode ends as Eric is walking back into the house. Larissa hangs up the phone, and then the producers are like, do you want to like confront him about this entire situation? Over in Utah, we have Kalani and Asuelu. Kalani decides to bring all three of her kids to the park so that they can play, get some energy out and everything. One of those kids being her husband. Asuelu apologizes to Kalani about what happened in the car and everything. And Kalani's like, all right, like, I'm glad you apologized, but like, action needs to happen with this. But I feel as though the entire reasoning behind this apology is so Asuelu could ask Kalani if she would go to Washington to, get this, see his mom and his sister. So apparently Asuelu already has family that lives in the States. None of these people showed up to the wedding, so there's obviously probably some tension there. So later on there is a video chat with Kalani, Asuelu, his mom, and his sister. And during this conversation, we kind of get like where Asuelu gets his eccentricness from. He asked her like, hey, is it okay? Like, would you be okay with us coming to visit? We wanted to go to Samoa, but the measles outbreak and everything. And she's like, yeah, come. You can come whenever you want. And like, yeah, you should be taking care of your family during this time. Like, you have kids, yada, yada, yada. And in the same breath, she turns around and is like, let me get $1,000 though. And Asuelu's like, yeah, so I got about 500 because remember that family? I'm taking care of them, but also my wife. I don't know if she'd really be down for that. At some point in time, you just have to be real about things. Like, $1,000 is a lot for someone who's not working a full-time job with like good pay. $1,000 is a lot for a lot of people. One little interesting thing that happens all of this, he has his moment with the camera and he's like, if Kalani doesn't respect my mom, it's gonna make me really mad. As if he didn't just disrespect Kalani and her mom in the car. The entire reason that he was apologizing, the entire reason that he had this entire conversation with Lo. So you're gonna get mad at your wife for possibly doing what you do. And we're gonna end this off with Paul and Karine. So Paul apparently got a house of some sort and he has 2 dogs that he's apparently been keeping in boarding training school thing the entire time while he was in Brazil. We get to this house and it's a studio type situation and Paul cleans it up. Karine is actually, she seems to be fulfilled with this. Yeah, Paul cleaned up the place, but then he throws another dig and he's like, oh, see, we have an air conditioning. When we were in Brazil, we didn't have that. At this point, you're trashing this lady's entire like upbringing, her life, her country, like her family. Like, stop. So yeah, that's it, you guys. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please follow me on the socials. I have Instagram, I have Twitter. My handle is @Derrick_Rashid, just like it is with this channel, only the channel does not have the underscore. So until next time, bye guys.